Hi guys, I'm back. What's good? How you all doing? So welcome back to another episode of DNWP. As it turns out, 4 days around a campfire with no sleep. It doesn't help. I've had to recover. But the brilliant news is that some incredible news has come out since I've been gone. So we have a lot of really cool stuff to catch up on. And of course, the first thing that I'm going to pick coming back is Kitase, destroyer of theories, crusher of tinfoil worlds. Kitase has come out and he is just savagely blown 3 huge theories that so many people believed, so many fans were actually passionate about. That's the weird thing about this Squall is dead theory and Ultimecia is Rinoa. Which is all kind of ironic, this coming out now, considering... I'm using the word irony wrong again. I was going to say it's ironic because Ultimecia is also out in Dissidia, but that is not irony. Coincidence? I think that's the word I'm looking for. So Ultimecia is coming to Dissidia and she looks dope. I won't really cover it because it's a bit late now, but just looking at her briefly, she kind of gives me a bit of a Shantoto vibe. So of course she is a marksman. To find the word then, marksman, and she looks like she's just going to be balls to the walls damage. I kind of think that she's a character I might pick up because during the Dissidia beta, which heart-crushingly is now over, I found myself picking up a lot of mages, a lot of the range, the marksmans. But getting back to this article, so it's from Kotaku. Jason Schreier is the writer. Kitase was asked a whole range of questions, big fan theories, and the first one was on the theory that Final Fantasy VI's costumed GoGo is really Darill, says his old friend. Now, I heard this one. Never really believed anything with GoGo because there was really nothing ever to go on, and it was all very tenuous at best. Kitase says that's probably not true. Probably? Speaking through a translator, I don't think there's any background setting like that. If that's true, then because Darill had that beautiful ending, if she ended up being GoGo, that would just destroy all of that. Okay, she ain't GoGo, no big dealio. But the interviewer then asked, was GoGo his secret identity at all? Was he supposed to be General Leo or perhaps Adlai Stevenson? Now this Adlai one I did read years back, but I had to refresh my memory on it. Adlai Stevenson was a former governor of Illinois, and more than anything it was just like really coincidental quotes. Like Adlai Stevenson was heard talking about mimes, he was heard talking about fighting a familiar enemy on the same territory, but we don't recognise the territory anymore. Talk about like the world ruining Kefka, and it was all just like a load of kind of coincidental bollocks like that. That was actually kind of compelling. I mean, man, I don't get it. Some people get so worked up about theories, get worked up about even people making them or talking about them or discussing them. I mean, it's implied in the word theory that no one is ever outright saying they're 100% correct. That no, there is theory, it's guesswork, it's connecting dots. Some of them could be true, some of them could be intentional, but more than anything, it's just fun. I mean, it's just fun, just connecting dots, making headcanons in place, or even answering things that the directors just kind of, like Kitase saying here, didn't even think about. There was no backstory to these characters. GoGo and Umaru actually did not carry any background story whatsoever. They were just there for you to select them if you want to be in battle. But let's get on to the good one. This is where it's going to get crazy. So on the theory that Final Fantasy VIII Squall dies at the end of Disc 1, when he's stabbed by Deer's ice spear, and that the rest of the game is his dream. Man, this theory. And the answer to all of that is no. That is not true. He just come out and said it straight. Kitase said laughing. Wow.
I have awaited this day 1,000 years.
Whew, I mean, they tease this theory so much. That's the thing. So many people were really compelled by it. It's the next one that he blows out that I was more compelled by. But this is, I think he was actually stabbed around the shoulder area, so he was not dead. Now, the countless hundreds of hours I have witnessed people arguing whether he was stabbed here, or here, or here, or here, or here. It turns out he was stabbed through the shoulder. I think most of us knew that anyway, because you could pretty clearly see that it's gone through his shoulder. But the ice, I mean, it's a pretty wide lance. The thing is, it wasn't so much that he got killed from the stab. The weirder part is, again, that he got stabbed, woke up, totally healed, not even a scar, and no one ever talks about it ever again in the game. I mean, it's a pretty big goddamn deal. Not to mention the fact that Squall fell something like 20 feet off that bloody platform. So it is, not everything's been explained with it, but all we can now say is it didn't kill him. What else happened? I mean, I don't know. We're going to have to theorise again. That's the thing. Personally, I think the only other logical explanation is that Edea, the inner Edea inside the sorceress, the one who knows Squall, the one who raised her. I guess a little bit of her must have got through and she must have healed Squall. That seems the most logical. If anyone's got a better one, but screw it, I'm going to be here forever. Let's move to the next one. So on the theory that FF8's Rinoa is Ultimecia. Now this was such a compelling theory. There was hints in this video when you kind of marry up their faces. They do have a hell of a lot of similarity. The fact that they both end up with wings on the back, and everything to do with Griever and how Ultimecia knows about Griever and how Rinoa even asks, you know, if ever I go bad as a sorceress, I want you to be the one who kills me. They're like very, very compelling theory to the point where I am actually going to say I was more believing it than not believing it. So fuck it, I believed it. I believed that this could be true until, here's the thing guys, Kitase did come out and say not long ago that sorceresses don't live abnormal lifespans, and when he said that back then, that was in response to this question. So I think back then he was kind of more or less telling us no, that sorceresses don't live unnatural lifespans, so she can't be Ultimecia. But then a lot of people saying, could it be cryo freeze? Could it be manipulation of time? Or some other voodoo, hoodoo, heebie-jeebie magic that makes Rinoa live longer. But nope, here we go again. It is not true. I don't think I'll incorporate that even if we do a remake game. That being said, both Rinoa and Ultimecia are witches, so in that sense they are similar, but they're not the same person. Now again, just quickly flip back, I missed that. If we ever do a remake of FF8, I might go along with that story in mind. The Squall is dead. What? Are you serious, Kitase? But moving swiftly on, so that's the FF8 ones out of the way. This is pretty cool though, on the theory that FF7's Knights of the Round are really the Cetra that defeated Genova 1,000 years before the events of the game. I loved this theory, loved it, but everyone's thinking too deeply, reading between the lines too much. Well, that's my career on YouTube gone. It's over. I truly have been thinking too deeply. Everyone's thinking too deeply. That makes it difficult because if you think about it that way, we might have to make it that way. That's definitely not true. But quickly finish this. So Kitase added that Tetsuya Nomura, best known as the director of Kingdom Hearts, created all the summons in 7 and said they didn't have any background story attached to them. Now, so I mean, that kind of seems about right. You know, Leviathan had a bit of story. Not really. She was like the idol. It was the idol of Wutai. I'm trying to think. Did Kujata have any? No. Fat Chocobo? No. No, I think pretty much they didn't have any story. So, makes sense. On the theory that in Final Fantasy VII, you'd originally be able to bring Aerith back to life, but it was cut from the game. I kind of know that there was the idea that it was going to be Barrett who died. Originally, they're considering Aerith or Barrett. They went with Aerith. Various reasons, but I've never actually heard this, that originally she was going to be able to be brought back to life. We did hear that there were talks among fans that if you use a bug, in the game that you can revive Aerith and she'll be able to be with you until the end of the game. It might be good in a fantastical story that you can revive the characters, but with 7, we wanted to really take another look at that. Look at human life and make people realise they don't come back. That's pretty weighty, that's pretty heavy words, and I think that more or less could be our answer for the Final Fantasy VII Remake. For all of those people who are, in my opinion, deluding themselves that they're going to bring Aerith back, or they're going to create some sort of Aerith Lives DLC. From day one, they have said that Aerith's death is important. And people not coming back, and actually dealing with loss and tragedy, I've always seen that as a really core foundation of 7. And for all those people who came back and was like, oh yeah, Aerith should come back in the DLC alive, it always baffled me. Because to me, you were just undermining the entire purpose of Aerith's character. You were undermining the entire point of the story and pretty much the entire sacrifice. Aerith's sacrifice was the heaviest, the most meaningful. I just couldn't understand why people would want them to undo that. So I'm really glad to see Kitase saying that he sees the weight of her death. When Kitase had his team first started development of 7, he added they saw another company give a survey to little children that asked if they thought people come back to life after they die. A lot of the kids actually said yes to that question. Dumb motherfuckers. Kitase said there are all these fantasy stories where, for example, the princess would come back from death with a kiss of her prince. For children, it was normal for them that people would come back to life. And we wanted to question that idea and thought. So we wanted to depict that there is a weight to life. And just put on a loss as well to life. And say if it makes sense. And that's where we all started with 7. That was our core concept. Man, I'm loving this. Combine this with that amazing interview we had the other day where they was asking about FNC and they was asking not all the really deep, gritty questions about 15. These are what we want. Asking the questions that the fan base have been dying to know. I really hope it keeps up because this is amazing. And finally, on the theory that Final Fantasy X-2's Shinra character went on to start Shinra in 7, meaning that both universes are connected. I have talked so much about this. In fact, for anyone who didn't see it, I did a Rin is the biggest mastermind villain in Final Fantasy. That he is by far the slyest, sneakiest villain that never got caught. Trust me, it sounds crazy, but if you watch the video, there's actually, I quite like the theory, and it really did hold on the weight that 10 and 7 were connected, so this will be interesting. Now, I won't completely come out and say if it is the same world, said Kitase. However, Shinra in FF10-2 was created by Najima, the scenario writer, and when he thought him up, he thought it might be good if people would imagine that after a few years after the story of 10-2, that person Shinra will grow up and start the Shinra company. So that is something that he did hint in there. That being said, I'm not going to say that is the same. Now, first up, I'm just going to say, I kind of feel like Kitase would answer a theory even if he didn't know the answer. Like, if he'd have had a theory thrown at him that he genuinely didn't know the answer, I get the vibe that he's kind of just bullshitting, because that's literally not what Najima thinks or writes. We know what Najima thinks. He actually specifically said that Shinra is not the Shinra. Shinra in 10-2 is not the Shinra who goes on to create the company. It's not the same world. It's when air travel, space travel becomes available thousands of years in the future. Shinra's ancestors then go on to move on to the planet of FF7, and that's when the Shinra company starts. So this is what really made Kitase lose weight. You know, what he was saying. I don't really know how I feel about that one, but again, Kitase wasn't as heavily involved in 10-2. As for what he's saying about 6, 7 and 8, if anyone knows about them, if anyone can debunk these theories, it is Kitase. He is the man for the job. But yeah, like I said before we go, the fan base, a lot of people aren't reacting well to this. A lot are actually saying they're now disappointed. They're disappointed in the story of 8. It's got less magic to it, even the same for 6. A lot of these theories made it more exciting for them, and for them to now know it's true. In some people's mind, it's ruined it for them. I mean, for example, this comment here, this not being true is really disappointing for me. I was thinking that there might have been something clever going on in the future, where Squall suddenly dies and Rinoa loses his own mind, trying to mess with the time stream to change his death. Yada yada yada. Final Fantasy 8, it keeps on disappointing. I mean, that's a bit extreme. There's definitely a lot of depth with FF8's story. In fact, I'm going to be doing an FF8 video soon. I keep saying it. God damn, I've got to do it. But I see what people mean. Like, when there's these huge plot holes in the story that the fans, and they find a really logical, exciting, clever way to fill it, and then it turns out not to be correct, and there's nothing even more exciting to fill it in place. There's just nothing there. I get it. I get the disappointment. At the same time, I kind of feel like you shouldn't have been hinging your entire enjoyment and appreciation of a game on a totally made up theory that could have easily, and as it turns out, it actually was not true. So, I don't know. And then if we flip over to Final Fantasy 15, where Tabit's has actually kind of been saying the opposite. He's actually been saying there are mysteries, there are puzzles to be solved. Almost like saying there are theories in here for you to come up with. I really don't know anymore. I have no idea whether Square Enix, when they create Final Fantasy, if they've ever with any of them thrown in stuff like little breadcrumbs, clues, a trail for fans to think up. If we go from what Kitase is saying, no. Just no. Reading between the two lines too much. I think at this point we have to just accept that what Kitase has given here is the final word on it. It is the answer. It is the truth. Even if we don't like it, and even if we don't think that Kitase is really being totally upfront and honest with all of the questions in terms of how much he knows, we have to accept it. I still see people arguing on Facebook saying that Kitase is bullshit, he's lying. I still believe the theory. God damn, it's time to put it to rest now. I really feel that with these particular theories, Squall is dead, Ultimecia is Rinoa, it became more than a theory, it actually became a constant war, an argument in the fan base. I have seen grown-ass men have bitch fights and battles over this kind of stuff. So in that regard, in terms of the arguments and the assault and toxicity, I'm actually kind of glad that Kitase has just come out and debunked it. But at the same time, I do feel a little bit of mystery and magic has been lost. And goddamn, you're just a beautiful arsehole, Kitase. But I'll see you on the next episode of DNWP. Until the next video, keep out.